Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Hands-On channel. We're out here in my woods today, just enjoying a little bit of peace and quiet, trying to basically wait for the results to come in for the 2022 midterms, and I'm pretty nervous about it, so I thought I'd come out here and spend some time in the woods just clearing my mind and getting my mind right and stuff like that. But I wanted to kind of explore something with you guys. You know, a few days ago, or yesterday I guess it was, I put out a video and I briefly kind of brushed over it, but I had some trespassers come onto my property, and basically every time that happens it disrupts my peace of mind over here. And you know, I know that rules are different around the world and stuff like that, and other countries may not understand this, but part of the American dream that my wife and I have been pursuing, you can have many different versions of the American dream, but part of our American dream was to have some land that was our very own, that nobody else could mess with, right? And you know, we've had some problems. Early on when we got the place, we had one of our shipping containers. Basically, I just put two, not new, but they're older shipping containers. I put them out in the front out there so we'd have a place to store our materials for when we get ready to build, and a place where I could spend the night if I needed to come over here and spend the night, whatever, and keep dry, right? Get out of the elements. And so I found a great deal on two 20-foot shipping containers. I went through the trouble and paid for it and had them brought over here, got the driveway prepped up, had them delivered, set them on concrete pads fairly level, and we put new locks on our well house. I had rebuilt the well house and put a brand new door on the front of it. It was an old antique door that my wife and I restored, and it had just like this much glass up in the top, small enough that we didn't think anyone would be able to crawl through it. And we were wrong about that. Someone came over right after we completed the building. They broke the glass out of the building and chopped a hole. They took a double bit axe that I didn't even know was on the property. They found it because there was a bunch of junk scattered around. They found a double bit axe and got up on top of the shipping container and chopped a hole in the top of it. So I patched it, you know, with a metal sign and a bunch of roofing tar and stuff, and it doesn't leak. But the point is, every single time I go in and open up that shipping container, the nicer of the two that I had, the one that I was thinking about turning into living quarters and making like a, you know, little shipping container cabin or something like that out of, or a shed at very least, that one's the one they tore up. And it just, you know, it saddens me and makes me sad for humanity. You know, at first it angers me, you know, it makes me very angry. And one of the things that makes me angriest is that as a property owner, there's very little that I can do to combat trespassing and trespassers other than catching them in the act. But even if I did catch them in the act, under my state laws, I'm not allowed to like hold them at gunpoint or anything like that, or even brandish my weapon, because if I do, then that could come back on me. Then now I'm breaking the law to try to bring them to justice, right? So you know, I know a lot of people are going to come into the comments and they're going to say, you know, set booby traps and do these kinds of things like this. Maybe non-lethal might be what they mean, but many people take this stuff very, very seriously. And I'm very sure that this is young people that are doing this. It's not adults that are doing this. They're probably under 18, so they feel like they can get away with it because the law doesn't apply to them. And maybe they've been coming over here and using this as a shortcut for all of their lives or whatever. But now that's changed. Now new ownership is, you know, it's me. I own it, and I don't want people passing through here. Speaking of that, we've had them over here multiple times, so I think this is about the 4th or 5th time that we know of that they've been over here on the property. Well, one of the things I did to try to combat this was, you know, the sheriff, when we called him the first time, when they actually broke our stuff, we called the sheriff, brought him out here, you know, and anyway, he couldn't do anything, of course. He filed a report, but there was really nothing he could do because I didn't have any pictures or videos or anything of the people that came onto the property. So he told me to invest in some, you know, cameras or game cameras or something. And so that's what we did. We put game cameras up. I need to buy a bunch more of them apparently. But we did capture this latest break-in because they went into one of my buildings. Now, it's not a building that I'm planning on using for anything other than storage, but still, it's an old dilapidated mobile home that my wife and I have been painstakingly cleaning out so that we'd be able to use it for storage, or in a SHTF ultimate, you know, everything's crashing scenario, we could actually live in that place. It's not very nice. I'd have to do a lot of stuff to make it livable, but you know, it's not totally lost right now. It's still standing. It still keeps the water out, and for the most part keeps the bugs and stuff like that out. So I don't want people in there opening the door and stuff like that. Well, they went in and they knew that I had cameras. And the way I know that they know that I have cameras is because the one that I got a facial shot of was wearing a hoodie and a mask. And he was kind of looking down like this. So all I could see was about this much of his eyes and his little yellow blonde hair hanging down. I'll throw some pictures in here because as far as I'm concerned, once you come onto my property, you have no rights and you're a trespasser. There's signs all over the place around here. Although in my state, those signs aren't necessarily required. As long as you have some signs showing that you don't want people on there, that's trespassing. And it's criminal trespassing when they go inside of a building or they break things. And I've got a picture, a still picture, the only picture my trail cam captured of this kid is him coming out the door and throwing a fluorescent bulb down on the little crappy porch area that my wife and I have been trying to pick up all the glass and all the broken stuff that's all around there, just so it's safer for when my nieces and nephews and relatives and my daughter and her boyfriend, when they come over, I don't want them having to worry about stepping on glass or getting hurt, right? So my wife and I have been picking this stuff up, and these kids come over here and they break glass. Our first sign that there was someone here, we were over in this area right here. I'm at the top of L Field here. I've told you guys, if you follow the channel, you know exactly where I'm talking about. It's one of my spots that my wife and I are developing into either a camping site or who knows. We've got lots of ideas about possibly building something like a structure of some kind over here, a shed or maybe a shabin or a shed cabin or something like that, whatever you want to call it. We were planning on building something like that. And as soon as we started clearing things out to look into that, to see if it was a good location, we came over the next day, like it was either the day after Halloween or it might have been the 2nd, November the 2nd. We came over here and our lawn chairs were left in a place we didn't leave them. So when we came up the trail, we were like, hey, did we get in that big of a hurry when we left the other night that we left our lawn chairs out? So we were second guessing whether or not we had left them out. But then as I thought more and more about it, I'm like, no, I remember specifically putting my lawn chair. I've got a couple of trees over here and we stick them in between these trees so that, in case a big gust of wind comes along, they don't get blown away or whatever, right? Well, they were setting out in a seating position my wife and I never really sit in. It was in a different area than where we normally sit. And then we see candy wrappers and trash all over the ground, like a giant bag of empty bag of Starbursts and other candy wrappers all over the place. So that's another reason that I know it's probably kids. And this was the creepiest part of the whole deal. There was a pair of what appeared to be male child's athletic pants or something. I don't know what to call them, almost like sweatpants or something, but they weren't quite sweatpants. I don't really know what to call them, but they were obviously child size. Like I would have, I'm not very good at judging the age of children, but I would say anywhere from 12 or 13 to maybe 16 or 17. I don't know. I have no idea how old this kid is, especially considering the only picture I got of him is like this, him looking down, and I could just barely see anything. So guys, this is a real problem. And the only thing I hate worse than trespassers, people that don't respect your private property rights, are freaking thieves. And that's what we think they were doing. We think they were over here casing the place out, looking to see if there was anything they could pick up quickly and easily. Because again, why else would you come here to go inside of a building? And again, I forgot to tell you, I don't know, maybe 2 months ago, my wife and I were over here. I think we were back here working in this section of our property, way back off the road. And something happened. I don't remember what the deal was, but my wife wanted something, or I needed something that I left up front in the truck. And at that point, I had my black Chevy out front. It wasn't locked because I had my gate locked. I didn't think there'd be anyone near it. I'm surprised I didn't leave the keys in it, because sometimes I do that, because I usually feel relatively safe out here on 100 acres where it's fenced off, especially along the road. But even on the other sides of me, the majority of the property's fenced off except for the very back section back there. And anyhow, I went up front, and as I crossed the pond dam, there's like an elevation change and I was on my four-wheeler. And as I crossed the pond dam, I came up over and I see two bodies walking towards me, walking toward the pond dam. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So I run up to them, somewhat aggressively on my machine, and I jammed on the brakes. And I'm like, hey, what are you doing here? Oh, we're just taking a shortcut. I'm like, no, you're not. you're going to go back the way you came in right now and get off my property. That's no longer the deal anymore. I'm a new property owner here, and we don't want people over here. I even told them we've already had a couple of buildings broken into, and for all I know, it was you. So no trespassing. You climbed over a fence that said no trespassing right on the gate. So I followed them back out. I followed them all the way out with my four-wheeler, and I told them right before they crossed over the fence, I said, hey, next time I catch you over here, I'm calling the sheriff. I'm not going to be so nice about it. So please don't come back over here. You're not welcome here. This is private property. And I was polite and nice about it as I could be for someone feeling violated by, you know, two teenage boys. And these kids were probably like, you know, 12 to 15-year-old age range, you know, I would guess. But one of them had the same build as the one that I caught on camera. He had the same kind of hair color and look to it from what I could see, you know, coming out from underneath the hoodie. So I really think that one of those kids was over here. The other person that was there with him when he broke into the trailer last time, or, you know, went into the trailer, we didn't get a good glimpse of them, but we captured a shot of their a sandal, and it looked like a female sandal. Of course, you know how that is these days. I mean, boys and stuff are so screwed up, they might be wearing female sandals, but my wife said, no, that's a female foot and a female leg. So we suspect he was either over here with his girlfriend, older sister, maybe his mama, who the heck knows. But they were either looking for, and they looked pretty dirty. The people in the picture, they looked pretty dirty, like they weren't well kept. And of course, what I'm worried about is they're going to come over here and start trying to squat over here because they're homeless or something like that, and they're looking for a place to, you know, set up shop. Because, you know, across the country, there are all kinds of just atrocious squatting rights rules, and I'm just like, what in the hell is this crap? You don't just get to go show up at somebody's place, at least in my world, my America. You don't get to show up at somebody's place and just say, oh yeah, well, I've been here, so that means it's mine now. No. That's complete BS. There is no justice in that. That is not honoring property rights whatsoever. And you guys that know me, that follow the channel, you know I'm big time into liberty and private property rights. So I've got a real issue here. I've lost several nights worth of sleep. I've been over here way more than I normally would have been over here, just because I'm trying to catch these little punks while they're here on my land. Again, I don't know what I could do. If they choose to run away, there ain't really nothing I can do to detain them, because it's legally not within my rights to do that sort of thing. You know, just some of the things I was thinking about, and I don't recommend anybody do any of this stuff, because you know, it could get you in real trouble legally, because, you know, someone could get hurt and then end up suing you or something. But I did think about, you know, they've got those tripwire alarm things that it basically fires a blank shotgun shell, so nobody would be harmed. But I thought about setting some of those up, and mainly I thought about setting one up inside the trailer, like right behind the door, where when you open the door just a little bit, if you didn't know it was there, it would pull the pin and set the thing off. My thinking in that would be that the people that were trying to go in there would assume that someone inside just took a shotgun blast at them, and maybe that might, you know, spook them off of not ever coming back, you know. Other than that, I really don't know what else I could do. I was looking at some like other non-lethal things like tear gas grenades. They actually have those tear gas grenades, but they're very expensive, and I'm not sure, again, what my legal rights would be in that instance, because, you know, usually you think of that sort of a thing, or that sort of a device, as a self-defense device or crowd dispersement tool, right? So I'm not sure if that would be legal or not. And anytime you're not sure about it, you either need to look up the law yourself or just don't do it. Err on the side of caution, because the last thing you want to do is, you know, end up getting someone hurt or something like that. And then if you were breaking the law, they could sue you and, you know, take your land away from you. So, and I hate that about our country, how it's become so, the litigious nature of the country, where everybody's suing everybody over every little thing, you know. And I remember it started back when that woman dumped, you know, scalding hot water on her crotch from McDonald's years and years ago. And ever since then, it's just like everybody's just doing all these frivolous lawsuits over BS, you know, in my opinion. And that's all it is, because legally this is not accurate. But in my opinion, if someone's on your property and they're not there with your permission, with your explicit permission, then in my opinion, whatever happens to them, you know, on their own happens. So if they get hurt, they trip, they fall, you know, maybe one of these deadfall branches falls down out of the tree and hits them in the head or something like that, or, you know, something else happens, they shouldn't be allowed to sue you. That's them. They were on your property violating your private property rights. You did not invite them on. So anyways, I don't want to ramble on and on about it, but I'm pissed off. I'm madder than a hornet about this whole deal. And I've kind of reached the point now where it's like you feel a sense of helplessness because there's not a whole lot you can really do about it other than just live over here full time and catch them in the act. And my wife and I, we don't live here full time. We're trying to develop this into a homestead for the future. But, you know, it makes it harder and harder when 15, 20 feet away from the place you're talking about, you know, building and thinking about breaking ground, you've got people coming over and hanging out. I mean, what are they going to do when I start bringing valuable stuff in here, you know, like building materials and stuff like that? I mean, are they going to steal everything from me? They're going to rob me blind? I mean, what's my course of action, guys? What would you do if you were in this situation? You know, again, I'm just trying to mind my own business, stay on my own property, and live the American dream. And these people are trying to come over here, and I think I know where they're coming from. There's a pretty bad looking neighborhood that doesn't touch the corner of my property, but it's very close, and I think that's where they're coming from. I went and drove around over there the other day, and let's just say there was a lot of junky looking places where it was just, you know, looked like they kept every car they ever had and every piece of trash they ever had, and it was just, you know, the worst of, you know, humanity. To be honest with you, it's the worst of humanity. I've seen that many times. I make no judgments against people that live in mobile homes or even travel trailers. But there's a difference between a nice mobile home or a nice travel trailer and one that's just been treated like crap for 25 years and should have been burned down 10 years ago, right? So anyway, that's what I got going on over here. And I'm sure they're poor. I'm sure they probably don't have a lot of positive parental role models or influences in their lives. They're probably just kind of like, you know, let free, let raised wild. And I remember when that whole deal started coming on when I was a kid. I knew a lot of kids that their parents didn't discipline them ever. They just said, oh, well, that's just kids being kids. And that attitude has taken over our country. It's infected us like a freaking virus. And now, like 80 or 90% of the kids that are raised that way. No. I mean, you start messing up, you get, you know, you put your kids in line. You tell them, you explain to them, that's someone else's property, not your property. You have no right to be over there. You don't pay the taxes. You don't do any work to help them out. And even if you did, that would only be if they invited you over, not just because you choose to come onto their land. So yeah, I'm a very big proponent of private property rights, and I think that our country needs to bolster those up and support private property owners, not squatters and vandals and trespassers and thugs and thieves and other people that just want to come over here and do you harm and mess with what you got going on. It certainly doesn't make me feel secure when I'm trying to build something. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this. What would you do? You know, keep your comments legal. Don't say anything illegal, because for one thing, I won't do it anyway, because I'm not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize my private property rights here, or, you know, run the risk of hurting someone and having them sue me out of owning my property. So let me know what you would do, how you would deal with this. My plan is to put more signs up, be over here as much as possible, try to catch them coming onto the property and maybe put the fear of God into them or something like that. I don't know. I mean, there's only so many things I can do, because I can't just jerk my gun out and hold them at gunpoint. That's brandishing, as they call it. Complete BS. Complete BS. This is my constitutional oasis here. I should be able to do everything that I want to do. I always carry a gun. I have one on me right now. I always pack when I'm over here. I'm packing heat, because you never know. I kind of suspected it would be, you know, some, you know, wild animal or whatever that was a threat to me. But I mean, with people coming around here, wearing masks and with intent like that to come in and not be seen by the cameras, that tells me they've already been over here before multiple times and they're very comfortable. That's what I wanted to tell you about those 2 kids that I caught bebopping along my dam down there. When I popped up over the hill, their body posture didn't change one bit. They were just like strolling along like they own the fucking place. And I'm like, no, I own the fucking place. You get the hell out of here and don't ever come back, or the sheriff's going to get involved. And maybe I should have held those kids and just, you know, without pulling my gun out, I should have just said, okay, wait right here. But I didn't have my cell phone on me. I would have also snapped some pictures of them if I had my cell phone, but I left that back out here, and there's no way they'd have hung around while I went back and got it. So guys, if you have any advice, non-lethal things that I could do or try, you know, whether that be alarms or, you know, I even thought about a bucket of water, you know, one of the oldest tricks in the book, you know, we've probably all done this. If you have younger siblings, you know, you put like a bucket of water above the door, and then you call them in, and when they come in, the water dumps on their head, right? And I thought about that, you know, I thought about a bunch of other things that I could put into that bucket, but my wife reminded me that no, if you do that, now that's assault, because, you know, if you put like bodily fluids in there and dump urine all over them or something like that, and then they could get you for assault or something. So I think some of that, my wife's being a little bit too cautious, but again, I would rather err on the side of caution than end up losing my land over the deal. So I'm trying to do the right thing, but I need to make sure that these little hood rats that live over here around me understand that this dude that owns this land don't put up with any trespassing or any BS coming onto his property. He don't put up with it. You can go over to the neighbor's place and try to get away with it there. You can go over there and do it. But if you're on this 100 acres, you will be caught. So anyway, guys, wish me good luck. I'm just struggling to try to figure out how to deal with this without getting thrown in jail or getting sued over my property or whatever. So anyhow, let me know what you would do. How do you defend your property against trespassers? Is there anything you can do? Or has the United States just gotten too soft on this kind of stuff, and everybody that lives in this country now are a bunch of damn, you know, wild animals, basically. They weren't raised with any discipline in their lives, and they don't understand that, hey, this doesn't belong to you. You know, I think one last thing I want to tell you, I think one song that has done more damage to this country's attitude than any other song is "This Land Is Your Land." I hate that fucking communist song. No, this land ain't your land. This land is my land. Don't come over here unless you're invited. That's pretty much the gist of it, guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments. How would you handle this? I appreciate you tuning in. As always, I stand for liberty. I hope you do too.